Thanks, Anele. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us again at our quarterly feedback session. I've now lost count of how many of these sessions we've had with the Greater Helderberg community, but all in an attempt to ensure that there is transparency around all of the infrastructure investments that are being made in the Helderberg community with a view to turn around the sewer situation, which so many of you have experienced for many number of years. And I do hope that after all of our sessions together, you really take away the fact that the city is committed to not only investing in our infrastructure at this moment, but also investing in the future, the greater future of the Helderberg community. Just this past week, ladies and gentlemen, some of you will have seen that the mayor himself was in the community to come and inspect the progress of the work being made by the team, which you will hear from again a little after me. Work which includes the bulk of what you see on your screens in terms of the agenda. And so, as we always do, we will share with you the latest updates on the infrastructure investments being made. And also today, adding for the first time feedback to the community on our Macassar Wastewater Treatment Works, another wastewater treatment works which will soon undergo its construction phase, following on from the Zandvliet Wastewater Treatment Works and Potsdam Wastewater Treatment Works, which is currently under construction. Again, just to express my sincere gratitude that you have committed your time to joining us here on a quarterly basis to hear from us what the progress is around important projects like the Trappies Rehabilitation as another example of the work that is underway in your community. I also wanted to use the opportunity to recognize the fact that in between our last engagement and this evening's engagement, there was, as some of you will know, a gathering on the Strand beachfront in an attempt to shine a light on what some would claim is an underinvestment in this community. Many of those individuals who were at the forefront of those gatherings are well aware of the investments that are underway in this community. I hope some of them are here with us tonight and will importantly take away again the fact that the city is serious and committed to making these investments and making sure that they're completed in time in order to ultimately protect not only the rivers, but also our oceans that may be impacted. Safe to say that for the festive season that has just passed, again, the city has recorded outstanding coastal water quality at the Strand Beach specifically, as we have seen the beach again this past December packed by many residents who come from across communities in our municipality to come and enjoy the amenities in this general area. So again, thank you to all of you for being here today. And I do hope that, as always, this information that we share with you will be enlightening and information that you take away from here and share with those community members who are unable to attend and join us here this evening. Anele, thank you so much for allowing me an opportunity. I'm going to hand the mic back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you so much for that. If I may hand over now to Niven to present the first item. Niven, I will navigate the presentation from my side. You must just tell me when to move on to the next slide. You may take the floor. Over to you, Niven.
Thank you, Anele. Anele, if I can just take control from my side, then I can navigate and don't have to keep asking you to skip slides.
No problem, Niven. You can do so.
Sure. Can you please take us through to the presentation or put it in presentation mode? Perfect. Cool. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Niven Woodley. I'm a senior professional officer in the distribution services department. I am the project manager for the Trappies bulk sewer rehabilitation, and tonight I'll be providing you with a project progress update on this particular program. Okay, for those who are not familiar, this is the overview of the Trappies line. It is the DN 900 line, or a 900 millimeter diameter line that runs from the corner of De Villiers and De Villiers Street and Main Road, that traverses down your Bear Street, crosses Fagan Street and the Lourens River, and all the way down to the Lourens River pump station. We are in the process of rehabilitating this line due to the historical collapses that have occurred in the past years. Okay, just for some further context and a project overview. The aim of this project is to emphasize that the Trappies bulk sewer is currently 50 years old as of 2025. The aim of the project is to extend the lifespan of the pipeline for another 50 years and to restore the structural integrity of this bulk sewer to prevent future collapses along the line. As mentioned previously, the selected rehabilitation method is cured in place pipe lining, or abbreviated to CIPP. In the current procurement vehicles we're using is the 194C framework contract for the provision of multidisciplinary professional services. This contract is due to expire this year, and thereafter we will be making use of 52C, which is the replacement of 194C. Then in terms of the construction and how we are facilitating the rehabilitation, we are making use of 62Q, which is a term tender for rehabilitation of bulk sewers, 500 millimeters in diameter and above, citywide through CIPP. And the anticipated program completion date has been revised to November 2027. Initially, or previously, we did report on June 2027, but due to the challenges at the Lourens River, which I will explain later, this date has now shifted by a few months. Okay, then in terms of the overall progress or current progress to date, in terms of our professional services provider or the consultant that is managing the construction, their appointment was 7.3 million, and to date they have spent approximately 5.1 million. Then in terms of the contractors, we have 3 works projects that we have put out. Works project 1, initially valued at 32.2 million. We have since spent 30.9 million on this works project. Works project 2, valued at 34.5 million. We have recently spent to date 10.6 million. And works project 3, which is the latest works project that started this year, is 4.6 million. And as a result, no expenditure to date, but that is expected to ramp up as the months go by. And then the upcoming appointments, or the remaining works projects we envisage for the complete rehabilitation of the sewer pipeline, will be works projects 4, 5, and or possibly 6. Okay, Nele, I'm trying to change the slide. It's not moving. Okay. Then we'll move on to project progress and focus specifically on works project 1. The last we reported that in December last year, that the lining on works project 1 was complete, and that the contractor had minor reinstatement works left for January 2026. I can confirm that this has all been completed and De Villiers Street has been reopened. The completion date for this works project was the 21st of January 2026. And Nele, I'm not sure how we got to Works Project 2. If we can go back a few slides. Yeah, one more. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, okay. So the scope on Works Project 1 covered manholes S1 to S5. The commencement date was 7 April 2025, and the completion date was finalized at 21 January 2026. We'll move to the next one. This is a picture of the opened De Villiers Street with the reinstatement works completed. Then moving on to Works Project 2. Works Project 2 covers manholes S5 to S9, which is highlighted in yellow on this particular slide. It is from the OK supermarket down the remainder of De Villiers Street, up Munich Street, until the beginning of Helderberg Street. I'll just go on to the overview in terms of progress on Works Project 2. The due completion date for this works project is 16th of May 2026. The contractor is making relatively good progress on this works project. This is primarily due to the absence of any failures on the existing pipeline on this works project, as opposed to the 4 failures that we had on Works Project 1. Then in terms of this works project, the works completed to date is the design and order of the CIPP liner, manufacture of the CIPP liner, installation of the overpumping pipes in the roadway. This was specifically at Helderberg Street. We received delivery of the liner on December 11th last year. The contractor, upon his return, has since set up his temporary overpumping. He's isolated the pipeline between manholes 4 and 9. He's done his pre-cleaning and CCTV inspections and profiling. And on the 10th and 12th of February, respectively, the contractor has completed the lining from manholes S5 to S6 and manholes S6 to S7. This is 50% completion of lining on this particular works project. And ultimately, it marks the milestone of the entire De Villiers Street being aligned 100%. Then the current works in progress is the contractor is building new manholes at manhole S6 and S7. And he is then thereafter, once finalizing these manholes, he will move his overpumping system down to shift his overpumping systems down by 2 manholes, just so that he can complete the last 2 lining sections, which is from manholes S7 to S8 and S8 to S9. We anticipate this to be completed by April this year. Okay. Okay, some progress pictures on Works Project 2. The first picture being one of the manholes that the contractor is rebuilding. This is at manhole S6. Then the next picture is just traffic accommodation and general housekeeping. The next picture here is the start of Works Project 2 on De Villiers Street. And then the picture after that is the above ground overpumping pipes that have been barricaded using New Jersey barriers on De Villiers Street. And then this picture is from the visit by the mayor last week, Wednesday, just to emphasize the CIPP liner sample and the thickness and the sturdiness of the material that we are using to rehabilitate this line. Okay, moving on to Works Project 3. we did go into detail on the particulars of the challenges at the Lourens River in the previous community meeting. For those who weren't there, there's an alignment issue on a new bypass pipeline that was constructed in between 2022 and 2023, which has contributed to a lot of the surcharges and challenges we've been having upstream of Trappies. And as a result, we've shifted focus down to this particular area to remedy these issues so that when we do come back and finish Joubert Street, we're not going to have a lot of issues in terms of surcharges and spillages. So the city has initiated this project in January this year, as promised in the December meeting last year. We did get all the required emergency environmental approvals, and the contractor is currently on site he has been appointed as of 4th of February, basically at the beginning of this month. Okay, so I've basically covered most of this already. Just to note that the due completion date for this works project is November 2026. That is worst case scenario. Best case scenario will be a lot sooner than that. Works currently in progress. We are busy reviewing the contractor's method statements against the environmental approvals we have received. Thereafter, the contractor will receive a commencement to proceed to site, and thereafter we'll proceed with a detailed investigation of the old AC pipeline, which is crossing the river, and make the necessary remedies or reinstatements thereafter. Okay, this is basically an progress overview. The green section is Works Project 1, which has been completed. The balance of that between manhole S5 and S7 has been completed. So that first section of yellow and the entire green has been completed. The contractor now has to finalize his CIPP work from S7 to S9. That will be done by April, best case scenario, and May, ideal case. And subsequently, or concurrently, we are working in the magenta area at the Lourens River to remedy the issues underneath the river so that we can promote better flow in the Trappies line and minimize any sewer spills and surcharges. Once we do rectify the issues at the Lourens River, we will then initiate Works Project 4, which will start from manhole S9, proceeding along Joubert Street, and we will put out works projects as sequentially thereafter. Okay, then moving on to general considerations. These works projects will not address the resurfacing of De Villiers Street and Joubert Street in its entirety. The contractor will only reinstate sections of the road that was affected during the works. To date, we have completed 530 meters out of the total 2,300 meters. Challenges in terms of the surcharges along the line is anticipated to subside once the crossing at the Lourens River is reinstated under Works Project 3. Notices to residents have been issued to affected residents with the particulars of the overpumping on Works Project 2 and 3. We have reissued notices in January for Works Project 2, and we've recently issued notices just informing the project on Works Project 3. Further notice will be issued once the contractor is fully established on site and he starts with his overpumping. Then moving on to point E, as we progress with the third project, more sections of the pipeline will be thoroughly cleaned, where built-up silt and debris will be completely removed. This will gain back the original capacity of the pipe, which was lost over time. And then lastly, the contractor will return to complete Joubert Street once the issues at the Lourens River crossing is remedied. Thank you. That is my update for the Trappies rehabilitation.
Thank you, Niven. Thank you so much for that presentation. Please note that we will have our second item to be presented by Simpiwe. Simpiwe, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, councillors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Simpiwe Dube, so I'm the Regional Operations Manager for the Wastewater Conveyance section in the Eastern region. And I'll basically be providing a update on the operational responses that we have provided since the last meeting, which was on the 9th of December. So there'll be a lot of referencing to the previous engagement. So I'll kindly ask that you assist me with moving on to the next slides, Chairperson. So the first section of the presentation has been set up in such a way that it speaks initially to the collapses and some of the challenges that we experienced on the 300 millimeter diameter sewer line on Ubear Street. So it's just a recap of some of the collapses that we have experienced or have fixed on Ubear Street on the 300 millimeter diameter sewer line. Please move on to the next slide, Chairperson. Yes, so on this slide specifically, we just once again reiterate or remind the residents of the 4 collapses that had been completed by the time of our previous engagement. So that was the collapse that was at 22 Ubear, the 2 collapses at number 32, and the one at number 78 Ubear. And then there was one outstanding repair at the corner of Munich and Ubear Streets, which we committed to complete during the festive season of festive period. So the photo on the slide basically was taken during the construction activities, and more photos will follow in the following slides. Thank you, Chairperson. Next slide. Yes, so I've just included 3 photographs from the repair that was undertaken. We did commit to more stringent supervision in our last engagement. So we obviously undertook the repair, and the first image on the left-hand side is just basically an indication of the inside of the shoring box, as well as the excavations that were undertaken by the contractor. The middle section is the pipeline that was replaced after the contractor exposed the damaged pipeline. And then the last image on the right-hand side is just basically an indication of how the pipe was when the damaged section was removed from the network. Next slide, Chairperson. And then these are basically 2 additional images that show on the left-hand side the completed the reinstatement that was in progress once the pipeline was fixed. And then on the right is once again an indication of the shoring work that was constructed by the contractor. Next slide, Chairperson. Right, now this section of the presentation will focus on the capital rehabilitation works projects that have been awarded in the Strand area, because one of the commitments that we undertook in the previous engagement was that we were going to look at rehabilitating the local sewers draining into the Trappies bulk sewer line. So we've been able to fast track the implementation of these projects, and as the caption says, the next few slides will show the awarded capital projects within the Strand area around the Trappies bulk sewer line. Next slide, Chair. So 4 works projects have been awarded to a contractor that will be commencing over the next 2 to 3 weeks on site. He's basically just complying with the contractual requirements at the moment, getting the documentation in order, etc., etc. So as I mentioned, it's 4 works projects. The first work project will look at rehabilitating 1,200 meters of the 150 millimeter diameter sewers around the Trappies bulk sewer line. But most importantly, this works project will address the 300 millimeter diameter sewer line that I referred to earlier in the presentation, where we had quite a few collapses between June and December last year. So on this works project, a total of 3 kilometers basically will be rehabilitated with an investment of 6.4 million rands. I'll make reference to the streets as we get onto as we present the layout of the project. Works project project 2, that looks to rehabilitate 150 millimeter diameter sewers, once again around the Trappies bulk sewer line with an investment of 5.9 million rand. Next slide, Chair. Works project 3, once again, looks at rehabilitating the 150s or the local network around the bulk sewer line with an investment of 5.6 million rand. And then lastly, works project 4 will most importantly look to rehabilitate the section of 300 millimeter diameter sewer line that is running on De Villiers Street. So that closes the loop of the 300 millimeter diameter sewer, and that will be an investment of 5.7 million rand. Next slide, Chair. So now we're basically going to the layouts of the sewers that will be rehabilitated. We will share a more clearer a version of the sewers that will be rehabilitated, but basically the line that's indicated in purple, that's the 300 millimeter diameter sewer that was collapsing quite substantially over the last 6 months, which we are now going to rehabilitate as part of the projects that will be rolled out in the Strand area. So the streets, I've just noted some of the streets that will be affected by this works project, which include Uber, Ensland, De Ruyter, Brandt, Van der Stel, and Munich Street. Next slide, Chair.
Sorry, Simpiwe, just to be clear, the purple line that you were
Yes.
referring to is this one. I just want to point it out so that the residents can see.
Yes,
That
yes,
is the
correct,
purple
correct.
line, the one that I'm pointing at the moment. So that is
Correct.
the purple line that right there. Thank you so much for
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. Thank you, Chair. So the next slide, basically, this is Works Project 2, and it's basically looking to rehabilitate the local sewers. These are the 150 millimeter diameter sewer lines, where we've also quite recently experienced a few collapses, particularly on Union and Brand Streets. So this project seeks to address, and rehabilitate those sewers, which were inadvertently used as storage capacity due to the issues at the Lourens River crossing, which Niven will now address as part of Works Project 3. So the streets that will be impacted specifically with this project are Herschel, Grey, and Union Street. Next slide, Chair. This slide is an indication of Works Project 3, where the following streets will be impacted, which include Brandt, Marais, Fagan, Lochner, Wilberforce, Voltemade, Munich, and Olivier Streets. Once again, it's the local sewers in and around the Trappies bulk sewer. And then the last layout, Chair, in the next slide. That is Works Project 4. Most importantly, with this Works Project, we will be closing the loop in terms of rehabilitating the 300 millimeter diameter sewer in De Villiers Street specifically. But we'll also be, as part of this Works Project, rehabilitating the 150 millimeter diameter sewers indicated in yellow on the top right corner, and then more towards the middle of the slide, that is an indication of the 200 millimeter diameter sewers that will be rehabilitated. And then lastly, the purple line then indicates the 300 millimeter diameter sewer that will be rehabilitated as well. Next slide, Chair. And then I then indicated a section in the presentation of the planned capital sewer rehabilitation projects. The previous section was the awarded projects. This section is now the planned projects in the Greater Helderberg area that we will be advertising next week. So next slide, Chair. The most important projects, the two projects worth mentioning as part of the planned projects is the Geelsloot rehabilitation of the sewers in and around the Geelsloot, as well as the Helderview project. When we look at the Geelsloot project, we are looking to rehabilitate the 150, 225, and 300 millimeter diameter sewers in and around the Geelsloot, particularly to deal with the issue of the root ingress, as well as the perceived structural defects of the sewer line, and that is envisaged to be an investment of 7.5 million rand. However, I do just need to mention that we will be advertising next week, and we will then rely on the contractors to accept the works. Then the next project is the Helderview project. There will be layouts to follow after this slide that indicates exact areas where the projects will be rolled out. And this project also in Helderview will rehabilitate 3.3 kilometers of 150 millimeter diameter sewers, where we were experiencing significant collapses in the area with an investment of about 7.3 million rand. So these put together are just under 15 million rand. And then I just omitted to mention that the projects that have already been awarded are to the value of 24 or just under 24 million rand. Next slide, Chair. So once again, this is the layout of the Geelsloot sewer rehabilitation project. So there's quite a number of streets that will be impacted by the rehabilitation, which include Watermeet, Stella, Nassau, Jacaranda, Dama, Prela, Irene, and Pinecroft, just to mention a few. There will be a second project that will be rolled out, which will then provide more details once this project has been completed around the Geelsloot. Next slide, Chair. Then this slide basically just shows the 150 millimeter diameter sewers that will be rehabilitated in the Helderview area. As I mentioned, this project seeks to rehabilitate 3.3 kilometers of sewers with an investment of 7.4 million rand in the Helderview area. Next slide, Chair. And then once again, I just added a slide of proactive maintenance and some of the conventional methods that we use to undertake proactive maintenance. Next slide, Chair. So conventionally and more commonly, we'll obviously use we'll undertake the jetting as part of the proactive maintenance using specialized fleet. And then for the cleaning of the bulk sewers, we'll then use the bucket cleaning apparatus indicated in the middle section or the middle image of the presentation. And then lastly, as part of the proactive maintenance, we also undertake the cleaning of the sand traps. So as committed in the previous engagement that we had, we did have a successful summer readiness program where we proactively cleaned the sewers to reduce the number of complaints as well as infrastructural defects that we experienced. So once again, heading up to winter, we'll then ramp up the proactive maintenance that we undertake just to ensure that the network is ready for the additional inflows that are commonly experienced with the high rainfalls in winter. Next slide, Chair. And then once again, I added a section of reactive maintenance and some of the foreign objects that were removed from the sewers as part of Niven's project. So next slide, Chair. So the three images indicated on this slide are basically some of the rags and foreign objects that were removed from the Trappies bulk sewer line. Obviously, these foreign objects make their way into the bulk sewer through the local networks. So one of the interventions that we committed to and that we're still planning to undertake is the installation of the sand traps close to Broadlands Boulevard, just to intercept some of the lines that are coming from the Lwandle and Nomzamo areas, just to catch some of the foreign objects that find their way into the network. And then please just move on, Chair. I think it's the last slide. Next. Yes, then just before that. Then lastly, it's just a slide that indicates some of the reporting channels that the residents can use to log sewer-related faults. And we then encourage the residents to obviously log the sewer-related incidents as soon as possible in order for our teams to respond accordingly and in order for us to then have a record in terms of where rehabilitation or other responses are required. Thank you very much, Chair. I think this is the last slide of the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Simpiwe. Thank you so much for your presentation. We will now move on to Jaco Kun. Jaco, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, colleagues, councillors, and community members and residents. My name is Jaco Kun, Senior Professional Officer within the Distribution Services Department in Water and Sanitation. And my primary focus for this meeting is presenting the progress on the Gordons Bay sewer pump station and rising main. Next slide, Chair. So for those of you who are not intricately involved in the previous meetings, just a brief overview of the scope of works. So currently at the moment, the Gordons Bay Wastewater Treatment Works is capped at a treatment capacity of about 3 megalitres per day. It's not sensible in terms of the city's operations to maintain smaller plant, and for that reason, it was more beneficial to look at the upgrades at Macassar to accommodate additional capacity. Marcel will provide an update in terms of that project later on. So the scope of this project is then to convey additional flow over and above the 3 megalitre per day capacity, to convey it away from the Trappies sewer, where it's currently overflowing into, to convey it away from the Trappies sewer into a new rising main, which is discharging it into the Lowry Pass outfall sewer. So in terms of the overview, the size of the pump station, it's a 650 litre per second regional pump station and a 7.5 kilometer rising main, which is discharging into the 900 diameter section of the Lowry Pass outfall sewer. And as I mentioned, this is relieving overflows from the Gordons Bay catchment to Trappies. Next slide, please, Chair. So in terms of the pump station, it is comprising of a wet well, dry well design. On the left-hand side, the flow will enter the collection chamber. It will then be split into 2 diversion sumps, and then followed thereafter, there is 4 pump sumps. The pump station, or the dry well side of the pump station, is fitted initially as part of this project with 3 of the 4 pumps, ultimately delivering a capacity of 470 litres per second into the manifold, and obviously then into the 700 diameter rising main. As part of the additional support rooms or support structures, we've got the MCC building, the generator room, fuel tank, and also ablution facility. Just the photo on the right-hand side. So part of this project scope is the pump station, which is shaded in purple, as well as we will be constructing a sand trap upstream of the inlet works. That's primarily to protect the mechanical equipment from any foreign objects or debris that might enter the system, as well as a new and relocated flow meter. Thank you, Chair. Next slide.
Sorry, Jaco, just to make sure that we are referring to the same purple color, is this one or that one?
So the one on the top, Chair, that's the pump station, and the one at the bottom, that is the construction of the sand trap.
Okay,
the shaded areas in green is potential future projects should additional capacity need or be required.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Jaco.
Okay, then in terms of the pipeline, as part of this project, we are constructing a 7.5 kilometer, 700 millimeter diameter pipeline, conversing or transversing the flow all the way from the Gordons Bay Wastewater Treatment Works into the Lowry Pass outfall sewer. This pipeline for the first 2 kilometers or so is in a rural or urban area at the moment. Then we turn 90 degree into Circle Drive. A large portion of the pipeline is being installed along Broadway Boulevard. Then we turn right into, we just cross Altina. Then we turn right into Droostay and Boschendal. We drilled underneath the railway into Arnold Street. Then it's crossing across Main Road into the Strand High School along their boundary. It goes then the last section over Mills and into Algoa, where it will terminate at the corner of Algoa and the Reiter Street. In terms of the coloring on the slide, so the red sections is indicating what has been installed to date. So we'll get to the progress a little bit later on as well, but about 6.5 kilometers of the 7.5 kilometers have been installed. There's currently 5 pipeline teams on site busy with the installation, and one of them is the shoring team, which is in close proximity of the crossing in Broadway and Altina. Next slide, Chair. Then, yeah, this is just an overview showing a couple of photos along the pipeline and the construction activities that took place. So again, just an overview of the size, constraints, and depths of the pipeline. Next slide, please. So a couple of challenges that we experienced, unfortunately, which has halted our progress. The photo on the left, we have been experiencing delays due to the excessive amount of hard rock excavation. It's been on two fronts, both the pump station and the pipeline, which has been challenging, but the contractor is dealing with that at the moment, and we are aligning our resources or shifting resources to tackle or to mitigate any delays that this might pose. Then the photo on the middle of the slide that indicates a lot of the existing services that we need to cross with the pipeline. Challenging conditions, obviously accommodating all of this within the working space or trench. So we're dealing with that risk as well. And then lastly, the photo on the right just indicates a drag box, which is currently being used by the contractor in the deeper excavations. Some of these excavations range up to 5 meters deep. Thank you, Chair. Next slide. Then in terms of road reinstatement, so there's a couple of roads that's part of this project scope for reinstatement once the pipeline has been installed and tested. The first one being Drostay Road. So the road reinstatement commenced end of last year. The road layers G9 to G3 have all been installed, followed by the asphalt on the half width. Then the following or the adjacent half width of the road will also be rehabilitated as part of this project. That comprises of a G3 and the asphalt layer, and we anticipate that will be completed by March 2026. The contractor has also then commenced with the reinstatement of Bosduif and Circle Road. This is quite a long stretch of road that we are busy with the reinstatement. The G9 and G7 is about 43% complete. G5 and G3 is installed at about 17% complete, again half width. 100 meters of asphalt has been installed as well, and then estimated completion for this road is between March and April 2026. Then with regards to Boshendal Road, the reinstatement there of the road is planned to commence between March and April 2026. And then lastly, Jameson, Mills and Algoa is also planned to commence within May 2026. Obviously, a lot of this is dependent on the contractor passing the pressure test for the pipeline. So just to take that into account. Thank you, Chair. Next slide. Then just an overview, the pipeline construction also comprises of the construction of various air valves. There is a total of 14 air valves along the pipeline route. The photo on the left just indicates a typical example. And then the photo on the right-hand side is the discharge chamber that we are constructing at the end of Algoa Street. That is also progressing well at the moment. So next slide. Then in terms of the pump station, like I mentioned, a big challenge in terms of the construction of the pump station was the excavation within the hard rock itself. So that proved to be a challenge, and we ended up mitigating the delay by considering blasting. So blasting was undertook in several instances, and we reached the end of or the desired depth on the 26th of September 2024. Thank you, Chair. Next slide. Then, obviously, following that, the contractor was able to commence with the concrete works. So, just a couple of photos indicating the work taking place, installation of the concrete, formwork, rebar fixing, etc. Thank you, Chair. Okay, that's also just a couple of progress photos. The photo on the right is the last lift of the pump station before we get to the superstructure. That's essentially the section that's going to be above ground. Thank you, Chair. Next slide. Okay, and yeah, there's the entire, let's call it on the photo on the left, the second lift being completed in June. That's the entire section that's essentially going to sit below ground. And the photos on the right just show the extremities of the construction work, both within the wet well and the dry well sections. Thank you, Chair. So yeah, then we get into the more interesting photos. Photo on the left-hand side, that is a photo as you enter the wet well. So essentially, this is where all the sewage will accumulate and enter the pump station. On the photo here, we can see the four pump bays or pump sumps closest to us, diversion chambers at the back. The green on the walls is a AKS liner protecting the structure from any corrosion attack from the H2S gas. On the right-hand side, we have a photo of the construction of the dry well. That is of that was dated for November 2025, and I think there's a couple of more recent photos showing latest progress. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so there's some of the more recent photos. Photo on the left-hand side showing the superstructure with all or most of the brickwork being installed, scaffolding around the roof being constructed, and the photo on the right-hand side also shows the installation of the pumps which has been installed, non-return valves, isolation valves, delivery pipework up into the manifold, as well as the flow meter and isolation valve. It's quite a big let's call it milestone that we achieved with the mechanical installation having commenced. Thank you, Chair. So then, as indicated, part of our upgrade or scope for this project is also the construction of the sand trap upstream of the inlet works. So that is also progressing well. The photo on the left-hand side that you'll see here is the construction of the sand trap taken just yesterday. So just to explain to the residents, so the sand trap is a duty standby configuration. So one leg of the sand trap can essentially accommodate all of the future flow. This just provides us with the option to isolate one leg of the sand trap for clean out purposes, and then obviously diverting flow through a single leg. And then the photo on the right-hand side just shows the channel from the sand trap leading up into the inlet works. Thank you, Chair. Next slide. Then in terms of project progress, so in terms of appointments, the service provider or the consultant has been appointed for a total of 28.5 million. That's obviously for consulting services. Expenditure to date on that project or that contract is 16.8 million. Then in terms of the contractor, construction contract was awarded 248.8 million or 249 million. Expenditure to date on that contract is 175.5 million. Clearly from the photographs, this project is currently in the execution phase. Construction commenced on site in March 2024, and the estimated project completion is June 2026, which is obviously the commissioning of the pump station. At the moment, the construction phase is at about 80% complete. So in terms of critical milestones for this project, in terms of the pump station construction, the structural component is about 73% complete. A lot of that is just minor works that just needs to be finalized, like the access and the stairway into the wet well. In terms of the sand trap, that's about 20% complete. Mechanical installation is 22% complete, and then the electrical installation has also commenced this week. In terms of the rising main, just under 6.5 of the 7.5 kilometers has been installed. In terms of air valve construction, 56% complete. And then the discharge chamber is 78% complete. In terms of the micro tunneling for the river and big road or the road crossings, those have all been completed. And that is it, Anele. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaco. Thank you so much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, the next presentation will be done by Marcel. Marcel, I believe you are going to be navigating from your side because you've got some big files that you would like to show. So I'll stop presenting from my side and hand over to you. While Marcel is busy loading the presentation, let me take this opportunity and also thank the residents for their patience. We will get to the question and answer session very shortly. And I will also post the communications email address on the IM section very shortly. For those of our colleagues or our residents that will be going to celebrate the holy month of Ramadan that cannot ask questions for today. So please feel free to make use of that email address. As I've indicated, we will try our utmost best to get you responses if you do not get a chance to ask your question today. With that said, Marcel, if you are ready, you can take over. Thank you.
Thanks, Anele. So good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome. My name is Marcel Woodman, and I'm the project manager and principal engineer on Macassar Wastewater Treatment Works capacity extension and upgrade. This is my first time presenting in the forum, and then I'd just like to say thanks for giving me the opportunity to do so. So I thought I'd just introduce the presentation and highlight 3 areas of the project that I'll be touching on today. Basically, the purpose of the presentation, and I want to give you a brief overview of the Macassar Wastewater Treatment Plant that includes the history, the problems we've experienced, what are the core functions of the wastewater, of a wastewater treatment plant, and the upgrade that's taking place. So, and then secondly, I'll touch on the timelines for the project. That includes the civil and the mechanical and electrical works. And then lastly, I'll take you through some of the progress photos to date. Just to give you a bit of background to the wastewater treatment plant, the existing Macassar works is located between Kailicha and Strand. This is effectively along the False Bay coastline, and it's approximately half a kilometer south of the Macassar suburb. It's located near the Eerste River estuary, or actually at the Eerste River estuary. And then on the right, you can see highlighted in green the catchment area which Macassar services. It's Macassar, Gordons Bay, Strand, Somerset West, and yeah. Just going into the history of the Macassar Wastewater Treatment Plant in 1978, this was the start of the plant and where it was constructed. This was a greenfields project with a capacity of 17 megalitres per day. And then in 1987 and 1988, the city upgraded and expanded the works, increasing the plant's capacity to 34 megalitres per day. In 2002 to 2003, there was a mechanical WAS, which is waste activated sludge installation, commissioned at the inlet works. And then, so going down in the photos, just on the left-hand side, that's 1978 to 1987, and then 2002 to 2003. And then in 2013, there was a treated effluent pump station for off-site reuse, which was provided. Continuing with the project background, as I mentioned, it was originally constructed in 1977. And why are we doing this upgrade at the moment? Essentially, the catchment has reached rapid growth. A moratorium was placed on all development in the catchment, and essentially the plant has reached the end of its useful effective life. The plant's experienced a number of operational issues, a few of them being capacity constraints, flooding, dilapidated infrastructure, for example, the inlet works, and then the inability to meet water use license standards for effluent quality. I just thought I'd throw a few photos in here, and as I mentioned, the reason for the complete oval is because of the civil structures reaching its useful lifespan. Normally, civil structures have a useful lifespan of 50 years. And we can see that these structures have surpassed that threshold. And I think it's not great to see, but these photos highlight the extensive degradation and of the process units and the compromised structural integrity. So we've got the raw intake chamber here on the left, and then we've got the inlet works towards the top right, and then we've got some ponding that has been occurring at Macassar. Again, I've added some photos of the dilapidated mechanical equipment. So screens and pumps are basically seen in these photos. They normally have a useful lifespan of 15 years, and most of the equipment in the photos has been installed in the early 2000s. And then here's just a shocking photo of some operational problems we can see. This is the inlet works. It basically cannot handle surges in flow and then causes flooding of the site during peak flows. We've got some more pictures over here highlighting some flooding of the inlet works and the splitter boxes and spillages in the SST areas during peak flows. So now that I've given you a picture of what the plant was like, and I'd like to explain why the upgrade is of such importance. And after leaving you with such shocking photos, we can just get to the positive side of this presentation. So what is this plant trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve a capacity increase from 34 megaliters to 80 megaliters per day. The population equivalent that will be served from this upgrade is about 320,000 people. And the investment scale of the project is 4.6 billion rand. Once the plant, once complete, the plant will have the ability to comply with the water use license discharge limits to the East River. And one notable aspect of the project is that it promotes green energy efficiency and reduction in greenhouse gases, which I'll get into later. And then reduction of nuisance odors, and then technology standardization across all of the City of Cape Town wastewater treatment works. Let me take you through some of the basics of wastewater treatment before I get into what's to come over the next 5 years. So essentially what we have here is a graphic showing we have homes, businesses and schools, and sewage flows in via pipes, and that's either pumped or it travels by gravity to a local wastewater treatment works. We then have screening and removal of large particles or large or small debris. Then we've got the primary settling in number 3, that smaller particles are removed. In number 4, we've got the secondary treatment, which is basically the removal of certain wastewater constituents, and then further settling of particles are removed. And then finally, we have the tertiary disinfection at number 5. That's either UV or chlorine. And in terms of Macassar, we are adding a process called anaerobic digestion, which effectively provides power to the plant. So we have the anaerobic digestion is basically combined heat and power. This offsets the energy demand and reduces operational costs. So why do we do this? Or how do we do this? We basically digest sludge on site, and then we create methane and then effectively turn it into electricity. So after disinfection is complete, at number 7, we've got the treated effluent that will be released into the river, and then the solids and sludge screenings are then disposed of at a suitable landfill site. Just for comparison of the existing wastewater treatment plant, the pink on the left is where it's basically the expansion area that we can see, and I'll get into it in the next slide. So if I look at the green, which is seen in the I'm not sure if anybody can see the green. It's the new inlet works and basically the primary settling tanks. So that would be primary treatment of the wastewater treatment works. Then in the yellow, we've got the secondary treatment. That's your new biological reactors and your secondary settling tanks. And then in the blue, finally, we've got the tertiary treatment, which is the new UV and chlorine disinfection, modifications to the maturation ponds, and a new river outlet, and then sludge handling facilities that includes the thickening of sludge, anaerobic digestion, the CHP, as I mentioned earlier, and power generation, and then dewatering, and yeah, that's essentially the tertiary treatment of the plant. I've just put in a layer of, well, just visually, thought I'd provide a rendering of what the project will look like once complete. We have the sludge processes towards the bottom of the image, and then the settling and the biological processes towards the top, and then the inlet works towards the bottom left. Going into, oh, sorry, something popping up here. So now a mega project of this caliber can't be done overnight. It takes a substantial amount of resources to implement this upgrade, and over a period of 5 years. On the project, we have two contractors. It's the civil contractor, Stefanuti Stocks, under contract 203Q 2023-24. And then we've got a consortium who is the mechanical electrical contractor that comprises of Patterson Candy International, Inenzo, and Devcotech in a consortium. That's 191Q 2023-24. Looking at the project timelines for the mechanical and electrical with a value of about 2.2 billion rand, that excludes the provisions of CPA and ROE and VAT. This is effectively a FIDIC yellow book contract. That means it's a design build. And we've got the construction with a duration of 54 months, which started on the 12th of December 2025 and will end on the 12th of May 2030, with a defects notification period of 12 months starting in May of 2030 and ending in May of 2031. On the civil side, 203Q, we can see that the contract value is in the region of 1.35 billion. This again excludes the provisions of CPA and VAT, and it is a GCC contract or contract suite. Also, again, the construction period is 54 months, which started on the 29th of September 2025 and will end on the 29th of March 2030, with the defects notification period starting in March of 2030 and ending in March of 2031. So even though, okay, let me just see if I can hit play. Is it playing? Oh, yeah. So even though the construction is still in its infant phases, I thought it would be great for everyone to see the scale of this project. It doesn't have the same effect seeing it on a drawing or a rendering as I showed previously or in the previous slides. So I'd just like to highlight that the civil contractor is on site at the moment. The mechanical and electrical team is currently finalizing designs and ordering equipment. And then just to note some other notable improvements of the plant, which I didn't mention in the green, yellow, blue sections of the plant layout. We've got odor control and odor removal technology, various new pump stations and electrical buildings, and then there's a new process operations building, workshop, store and guardhouse, and then improved site security. So currently the civil contractor is busy with the earthworks, and that's in the far right corner will basically be the new sludge processes. If I go on, we've got some more earthworks taking place over here, and this is basically in the expanded area where the earthworks are taking place, and they don't know why I did that. Sorry, I jumped back to a slide. So I know this was a long presentation, so let me leave you with some of my closing thoughts. What can we take away from this? So the project is critical for meeting current and future sanitation demands within the catchment area. The project's also critical for the future development within the Macassar catchment, and this will trigger economic and socio-economic benefits, which will have a positive long-term impact on the surrounding communities. And we, of course, get a higher effluent quality, which will ensure the preservation of the Yester River. This river is vital for the livelihood of the surrounding communities and the protection of the sensitive Yester River estuary. And then one of the most notable parts of the project, we're promoting green energy, significantly reducing the greenhouse gases, utilizing sludge, and we're doing this in a sustainable way, alleviating the load on the Eskom grid. And that's me. So thank you for your time, everyone, and Anele, let me hand back over to you.
Thank you so much, Marcel, for the presentation. We are now going to go over to our last presentation for the day, ladies and gentlemen, and then we will open up the floor for question and answers. Again, we do value your patience. We are almost there. The next speaker who will be presenting is Newton Africa. Newton?
Hi, Anele. I just wanted to confirm something quickly. Just a minor update. The project team was actually quite keen. They wanted to present their own projects. I note that we just have the Lourens on there. Are we intending to present this large parts as well?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay. So what we intend to do is just give a quick snapshot of both projects, and then Ryan will take over for the Lourens, and then Wayne will take over for the Solaris Boss project. So thank you again to everybody for your time and listening to us and giving you positive feedback over what we have been doing in terms of both projects. I'll just quickly give some statistics on the Solaris Boss project. We are currently about 70% complete. If we look in terms of completion time, we're aiming for June 2027. What have we given back on the project? Some of our requirements is in terms of targeted labor and our enterprises. This means, are we employing local labor and making use of local businesses? I'm happy to report back that in terms of labor, we had a planned percentage of 2.5% for the entire contract. We are already at 4.9%, which is total give back to the local community of about 12 million rand on our targeted labor. Through job opportunities. And in terms of enterprises, we had a planned target of 2%. We are already at 1.6%, which is 4 million rand in terms of giving back to local businesses. So in terms of our overall investment through this particular project, we currently standing at 16 million rand. If I look at the year to just this current financial year, we had a planned, we've got a planned budget of 102.3 million rand. We are currently standing at 85% expenditure of that. Then going to the Lourens River, we had a slight hiccup in terms of the suspension period, which the team worked quite hard to resolve. We're currently standing at 91%. We've got a targeted end date of August 2026. And then in terms of expenditure and planned expenditure for this year, we are at 24 million rand and we're currently standing at 54%. Just for context, if we look at the total investment for the branch itself of 176 million rand that we've got allocated for our flood schemes, this takes up 72% just in these two projects. So this is our biggest investment, particularly for the East region. We will then I'll be handing over now to the project team to give their respective presentations. And if there's queries afterwards, there's myself on the call, Newton Africa, head for projects. We've got our manager, Conrad Fraser, also on the call, and also the head for the Eastern region, which is Geert Muller. Thanks, Nele. I think Orion is going to take over from this point.
Thank you so much, Newton. Orion, over to you. Okay, over to you, Orion. I'm not sure you're breaking up from my side. I can't hear you clearly. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that is experiencing this distortion.
I'll test again. Perhaps if you can go to the next slide.
Yes, I can hear you clearly now. Thank you so much. Okay.
So I'll be brief. I see we're already past 7. On this slide is basically just a schematic, sort of a dashboard of where we are. On the top line, it looks at the progress, as Newton stated, 91% complete on the top line. On the left is a schematic of basically the project scope and the status of each river reach. So the project starts on that first green flag on the right that says the start of the project is Meadow Lane up in Somerset West, and in the bottom green flag is the end of the project, which says Beach Road there in Strand. Overall project percentage complete 91%, and then I've showed sort of between major road intersections, when we completed those. And then on the right, the right block is some sort of a mini dashboard. I do present on this monthly within the community, so for some members it'll probably be old news. The project restarted in 27 Jan, and we anticipate to be complete by the 1st of August. Some of the risks and issues currently still on the project, because we've discussed extensively within the communities. The flooding in Strand 1 is currently still an issue. Because we've done extensive indigenous planting, alien invasives is something that remains a threat and that we are monitoring. And the revegetation of the remaining reaches. Some of the big wins is we've done a concerted effort to revegetate Victoria Park, which I'll get onto later. The Derator pump station is also operational, albeit there's some optimization issues that we are still investigating. And then on the environmental and occupational health and safety side, this project has a dedicated environmental monitoring committee that meets once a month. So all incidents and things are reported there. Nothing reported at this stage that should be of a concern. And yeah, I am the project manager, so usually all communications run through me. On the next slide, I'll start on the challenges and the issues. So if we can move to the next slide, Nelly. Yeah, biggest issue for us on the project was the case community or case caravan park, as it also known. If you look at the pictures on the left, you'll see what the status was when we started. Basically, in short, it's informal housing within the floodplain, effectively on the riverbank. So that was one of our biggest delays. Among other delays, this was the prevailing one. Picture at the bottom left was flooding that we experienced during the construction into 2024. On the right shows the Gabion reinforced flood levee that we constructed. And then the bottom right was also some minor flooding we observed, but just showing sort of the impact, albeit not the same return level in terms of storm, but it shows that the intervention at least did provide relief for flooding observed during the project. Then now I'll be going downstream to upstream. So on the next slide, I'll start in Strand Road and then move my way up. Beach Road. In this section, we're looking at current status. So this is where we are on the project. Most of the works currently is happening in Strand, with the works in Somerset West has been completed for a year already. So all the focus currently is in this bottom section. The bridge that you see there is the Beach Road Bridge, and then this is the reinforced concrete wall that is currently in progress. There's a gap there that's left, a temporary gap that is for the Trappies project that Wen reported on. So currently, some of the challenges we have here, we have some poor founding conditions just between that section of the last house in, where you can see the yellow plant there. So we've had to done some additional stabilization and bring in some extra rock layers. So it's been quite a challenge currently for us, but the team is progressing. So this part essentially makes up that last 9% of the project, with minor snags just further up. So there you'll see activity at this stage on this section of the works. Moving up to the next slide, moving up in the catchment. Yeah, I think we skipped the slide and might have skipped the slide. Just check if we go one back, perhaps, nearly or not. Okay, you can move forward. You can move forward, it's fine. Yeah, this is at Case Caravan Park, and this is just sort of a wider shot to show the current status. So all the houses that's along that berm that you see there has moved at the owner's expense. So they've moved out of the floodplain, but that progress did go much slower than we had hoped. Currently, this berm is about 80% complete, so there should be some activity also within the next week or so. On the next slide, we can move. Yeah, further upstream, this is Victoria Park. The works that is part of this project is complete in this section. What this basically entails, on the left you have the Lourens River, and on the right you have the flood berm that we've constructed. So this is basically widening the floodplain, creating some additional capacity for the floodplain. And then we've done some extensive indigenous replanting here. So it's plants that was rescued along the Lourens River, and I think in here is approximately about 320,000 plants that went in there. It's the largest that we've done on any river in the city of Cape Town. So this was quite a challenge for us, because you had to make sure as the contractor moves out of a section, the landscaper had to replant to limit, silt runoff, and to also make sure that the plants can take root before winter to minimize wash off. This is Victoria Park. Moving on to the next slide. This is moving upstream. This is now, as you move further upstream, the shot is on the bottom of the picture. You see the railway crossing, and on the top, that is on the downstream side, that is where the Sergeant Street road crossing is. That section is where the river makes quite a sharp bend, so that was very challenging in terms of flooding. I recall some of the residents reported in the previous years significant damages on properties in terms of flooding. So we did there a retaining wall structure, flood wall protection. That's already complete. It's probably been completed about 12 months ago. So currently that wall is in, and on the bottom top right, we see a picture of some of the flooding that was observed while the wall was in. On the railway crossing side, there currently it was just earthworks. It was earmarked for that section. We did attempt to widen the floodplain there because we know that the residents have also been experiencing some flooding near the railway bridge. There is an existing bulk sewer that runs through that area, which made it challenging to do further earthworks there. So yeah, that section currently remains as is, but we are, through our maintenance team, planning to do some scour protection for the residents that live in that area. Then moving to the next slide, it's further upstream. Now this is just one of the other challenges in Somerset West, just upstream of the Andries Pretorius Bridge. Yeah, this was where there was a bank that was severely eroded close to the properties. That section was earmarked just for earthworks initially, but because of the further erosion, we had to amend the design to do a full gabion retaining wall with a riprap rock. That's just also in the picture you can see that the riprap on either side of that gabion wall. So that's also been successfully implemented, and no issues has been observed in this area. And then I think we have 1 or 2 slides left. If we can go to the next slide, also then further upstream. Yeah, this is just upstream from the historic bridge. And this area was predominantly just earthworks and also gabion works to stabilize the embankments. On the left side picture there is at the Old Bridge Tavern side. We did some stabilization there in terms of gabions, and then on the other picture that's at the back of Stormhaven Park also did gabion works. And then I think we have 1 more slide left, which speaks to the pump station. Yeah, so the Reiter pump station was an existing stormwater pump station, which was a manually operated a single pump situation. It's been upgraded to a dual pump station, one on duty and one on standby, which is a 173 liters per second pump station which is now an automated system. Currently, there are some noise issues and also some backflow issues due to the river that we are investigating. That was not initially part of the scope of the work. And just in closing, the Lourens River Flood Alleviation 1J project is the last of smaller projects that was done in the catchment, and this is basically priming the catchment, say, to get ready for the future Lourens River projects, which would address your bigger return periods. Yeah, so 6 months left. We're hoping to finish before 1 August. Thank you. Yeah, there's a last slide here just on the actions ahead. Like I said, number 1, complete the remaining 9%. Number 2, the pump station issues, to optimize those. Then number 3, there's an alien invasive team that's going to be deployed through our maintenance branch, because we've done extensive replanting, just to manage that the invasives, especially like the Port Jackson, don't take over there. Then the winter readiness is something that is done through our maintenance team. It will also be done. And then there's currently a landscape plan that is being prepared for the remaining reaches of the Lourens River. Thank you, Chair. I think that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Highly appreciate your feedback there.
Sorry,
Okay.
Chair. So Wayne here for the Lowry Sports Project. Do you mind if I present from my side?
No problem, Wayne. I'll stop sharing and then you can take the steering wheel on your side. Over to you, Wayne.
Okay, just let me know when you can see my presentation. Can you guys see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining this meeting. I'm just going to give you a background on why we started this project and also the progress to date that Newton explained in the beginning of the presentation. So just going ahead, as you can see, wait, let me just take this away. Yeah. The objective of this project actually to contain the 100-year floodplain into a 84-meter wide river upgrade along the Lowry River from the N2 existing T2 that's named now to the Gordons Bay Wastewater Treatment Works. The consultant that has been appointed to look after this project as part of our client is Locosi Consultants, and then the contractor for this project is CSV Construction. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so as you can see, this is just a overview of what the floodplain in the current situation will be if you have up to 100-year floodplain. The heads area is the 100 floodplain, which covers the whole area to the northern side of the Lowry River, and then also parts of the Strand area further down towards the False Bay area. We've got just to give you a perspective where we are, this is the N2 from to Cape Town, this is to Gordons Bay, and then also the wastewater treatment works is along here. The current capacity of the Lowry River can only maintain or have a capacity of up to 25 cubic meters per second. And then also this covers the whole floodplain area if you have a 100-year floodplain. Okay, so to reduce that, what we're trying to achieve is to contain the 100 into this area here, which is the 84 meters wide Lowry River upgrade, with a 10-meter buffer on each side, which roughly comes to 104 meters. But with this, we have also included a 65-meter temporary working area to the north of the river upgrade and a 50-meter temporary working area to the south of the Lowry River upgrade. Okay, so yeah, like I said, it's just to protect. To do this is to protect the further downstream and to unlock also the undeveloped land for development, which will show you now. One of the projects that's dependent on our project is the Flactor Plus project through the Human Settlement project, which will housing plus minus for 4,300 housing service plots in this area alone. And also the N2 is also a project that will depend on our upgrading of the Lowry project. And then with this, there is 6 segments that were set out for this project, which is the berm to the eastern side of the N2, which will try to divert water under the N2 culverts into the new Lowry River upgrade section. Then you have a segment 2, which comprises of the alluvial channel, which will contain a 100-year floodline. And then you've got your segment 3, which you have your western channel and your eastern channel, which will convey your stormwater runoff from the Flactor Plus and the Rowan Farm development. And also the eastern channel will convey stormwater runoff from your eastern side, whereby you have your Checkers, the Lowry Road, and so forth. It will be conveyed towards the new Lowry River upgrade project. Then you have segment 4, which we also part of the scope of works is to upgrade the original Lowry River, which in a 100-year floodline, it will divert water for up to 25 cubic meters per second. And then also you have the modification of the Gordons Bay Wastewater Treatment Works. And for segment 6, we have the upgrading of the existing diversion channel, whereby the embankments will be made wider to contain more stormwater runoff. Okay. And then in the segments, you have your different drop structure A, B, C, and D. The drop structure is put in place to make your slope not as steep as at the existing. The existing slope is actually 1%, whereby we reduce it to between each drop structure to 0.5%. To alleviate why we did this, why we implemented the drop structure is to alleviate erosion, scouring, and sedimentation movement towards the wastewater treatment works. We also have, like I explained, the alluvial channel. The alluvial channel is like 84 meters wide. And then if you stand on top of the embankments and you look down towards the center line of the channel, it's like 4 meters in height. Then you have your transition structure, which we incorporated to with the steeper slope so that we don't have sedimentation built up from the original from the Lourens River natural to the concrete structure. And then we have the diversion channel. This is just some pictures that was taken last month, whereby we have the alluvial channel pictures on your left-hand side and just a cross-section that I explained, like 84 meters wide, and in the height of your embankment on top to the center line of the channel, which is like 4 meters in height. Then you have your drop structures. This is just pictures of drop structures with your bucket system. And you can see the rebar that they're busy building. Then you have your transition structure, whereby from here, this is like 39 meters wide. This one is 30 meters wide and they have a slope of, say, 4%. Why we did this and why we included this, it transfers from a natural channel to a concrete, whereby the bypass is all concrete. And we've put this in with the steeper slope so that we don't have sedimentation built up like we did in the existing diversion channel. This is also just a cross-section showing the upstream side of the transition structure. Okay, that's backwards. And then your diversion channel is like between the transition structure, which is here, towards the diversion structure channel. It's all to do with concrete, and that plays a good part in the design so that we don't have sedimentation build up along the diversion channel. This is just a structure, a plan view of a typical drop structure. This is drop structure D, whereby this is upstream. If you look down, this is downstream. This is a flow, how the water will flow. You've got your wing walls that direct the water towards your bucket system, and then from here it will then go towards your bypass channel. This is just if you look here, this is the bucket system, and then this is like part of the wing walls. The wing walls in a drop structure itself, it's like you won't able to see the footing, but from the ground downwards to the footing, it's like 7 meters deep. But then from the natural ground on top of the wing walls in your drop structure, that's like 5 meters deep. So you have a height difference of, say, 30 meters in total. This is just with your segment 3, whereby you have your eastern channel. The eastern channel will be mostly made out of your concrete grass blocks, and then at some section will have concrete slabs next to it for the embankment. This is again your western channel, moving from north toward the south, but it will go through the golf course because we didn't expect the western channel to go through the transition structure, so that's why we made a low point where you've got your pump rising main, and behind the pump rising main, your sewer rising main, there's a channel that goes through the golf course and comes out to the diversion channel of the Lourens River again.
Hi, Wayne. Sorry to interrupt you, my brother.
Yes.
We are way over time in terms of our presentation.
Okay,
time.
just okay.
So
This
if
is
you
just
can wrap up.
Yeah, part of the part of the scope is also to upgrade the sections of the natural regional channel. And then this is just where we get our riprap, your type A, B, and C. And the maximum is up to 2 meters in diameter. That's the Palmik quarry, which is towards Gerbou side. And then, as Newton explained, we've appointed the provisional service provider. To date, we expended 8.5 million, and in the contract itself, it was approved for 363 million, and to date we spent like 265 million. And then we allowed for 870 days, which is like 442 months for the project, but with the delays we went over, and the end date will be June 2027 due to delays. So yeah, like I explained, like Newton explained, the project is like 70% completed. This is just your track record, how we spend, our spending was a percentage and so forth. And then also we comply with the EMPR. We follow strict conditions. We test our water quality to see if the water quality wasn't disturbed by the contractor itself. So far so good. And then this is just a percentage wise of the drop structure channel, of the wastewater treatment works, and the alluvial channel. I'm not gonna take that. And then this is just challenges that we face, like your dust control, weather delays. The contractor is working tremendously to get more water trucks on board so that we don't have dust control, so much dust on site. And then also, this is just the benefit reasons. And then at the end of the day, we try to achieve these pictures here, whereby the NMTs will provide people to access and walk along the Lourens River upgrade project. So yeah, Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, Wayne, for your presentation. Thank you so much to all the presenters that have shared the information pertaining to their respective projects, updates and presentations. We will share the presentations with everyone. We will PDF it. If you do not get a copy of the presentation, please feel free to either email us on that email address that I've provided in the comment section, or please do reach out to your local ward councillor to get a copy of the presentation. Now we will open up the floor for question and answers and suggestions. Please, just a reminder, residents and councillors and colleagues, that we have 3 minutes per person. So you can make as many comments as you want, but please stick to the 3 minutes so that we can allow everyone an opportunity to say or speak. So first up, we've got Jamie, and then number 2, we've got Anthony van Rijn, and then lastly, we've got Johan Swart. Jamie, over to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks to all the presentations. They are very informative, and it's very encouraging to see the amount of work which is channeled towards this. I'd just like to make a couple of formalities. I'm no longer representing Helderberg ratepayers. I vacated that position last month. So I'm just speaking in my capacity as Bay of Sewage, Helderberg. And if I could just reply to MMC Badruddin's point regarding the peaceful protest and the petition that we had last month, it was not in defiance to the capital project, but actually the Stop the Sewage petition and protest was in relation to the environmental and health risk concerns and impact it has had upon the community. We've received a 12-page letter from him, and we're going to respond to that with a survey, and I've made a note of that in the chat comments above. I've got 7 or 8 questions I'd like to whip through quickly, so I'm going to try and get through them as best I can. As you are aware, that I had a Zoom with the mayor last week, and I think it allowed us an opportunity to engage on a one-on-one and certainly provide a user experience insight where city officials aren't necessarily reporting and providing the information which we are impacted by and we want to share with you. So first of all, Wilberforce Street testing and sediment discharges is an ongoing problem regarding water quality for the Strand. The city has been very consistent in claiming excellent water quality data, but we have seen sewage flush across the beach. So the question is, where is the data for the Wilberforce Street discharge point? We are led to believe from coastal management that data should be undertaken, and the monitoring of that and the release of those reports should be undertaken by Water and Sanitation, and that complies with the Coastal Sewage Pollution Response Protocol Plan. I'm going to move on to my second question. Dorata Street, the pump station that Orion mentioned earlier, the noise complaint, the overflow pumping is an issue, as well as sewage seepage into some of the residents around the area hasn't been provided and remains an issue. We have a phenomenon at the Lourens pump station area, and a phenomenon that we call flush hour. And if you go down to the beach in the evenings after there's been everyone's come home from work, switch on the kettles, use the ablutions, we often find that there's discharges into the Lourens River, and the smell and odor for residents in that area is very noticeable. And seemingly the water quality data that the city does at 9 o'clock in the morning doesn't reflect those complaints that we have and the community suffer. The fourth question I have is regarding the N2 bypass. I'm still not clear where it connects to and how it links to the Macassar pump station. That is certainly an issue that we are concerned about, and that leads me on to my next question regarding powder flow.
Jamie, if you don't mind, can you park that one? Because we need to give everyone a fair chance to get an opportunity to ask questions. You've already taken up 4 minutes, so let's be fair on the others. Thank you for your questions. Let's move on to Anthony van Rijn for more questions. Jamie, you can get an opportunity in the second round if there aren't any other hands, but we've noted your questions. Thank you. Anthony?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. This is a question directed to Marcel, please, with respect to the Macassar treatment plant. I know it's promising to know that there's changes been made and new buildings and all that. But my question is there a temporary solution to the treatment that's now been sort of overflowing into the beach area? Do you have any sort of temporary solutions other than what we potentially suggested as far as litter interceptors are concerned? Can you please answer that? Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Let's take the last questions from Johan Swart. Colleagues, kindly prepare the responses whilst also Johan asks this question so that we can respond to them collectively. Johan Swart, please, Jamie, lower your hand, and Anthony, can you lower your hand from the icon so that we can be able to move on? Over to you, Johan.
Thank you, Anele. Johan Swart from Strained Ratepayers Association. Got a couple of questions. Okay, first one is on the Trappies crossing of the Lourens River. Currently, there's the old asbestos cement pipeline that were mentioned in the presentation, but nothing was said about the replacement HDPE pipe that was placed in about 2 or 3 years ago. Is the idea to maintain both, to keep them both, to increase the capacity of that crossing, or is it only to reline the asbestos cement? Then I've also spoken to Orion at the Lourens River Catchment Management Forum, where Trappies pipeline is crossing below the concrete retaining wall for the flood alleviation project. They're going to build in, obviously, a sleeve for the pipe to go through. I think it's a good idea to maybe leave a second sleeve that is just closed off for future expansion if necessary, that we don't get to a point where we're stuck because we've got a big concrete wall and foundations and we can't get through with a second pipe. Then just want to find out, there's a sinkhole that was already occurred in October last year. It's on the Strand Golf Course Beach Road fence line, just opposite the Lourens River pump station. That sinkhole has been open, no safety fencing or anything. Half of it is inside the golf course, half of it is on the sidewalk, well, not on the sidewalk, but on the roadside. It is a danger, somebody can fall in there. It's quite deep. And then also, obviously, there's smells and so on that comes out of that sinkhole as well, as it is open, and that's the last section of Trappies before it goes into the Lourens River pump station. Then the Lourens River pump station, just in December, there was around the 10th of December, there were 3 times where the pump station was actually overflowing and not operational. That was in about 4 days. And then on the 20th of Jan, there was again one case where the pump station was actually overflowing in the evening. I ended up going to the pump station, phoning around to find out, and nobody was aware of the pump station overflowing. So it seems there's a bit of a problem with the telemetry system as well. So just maybe an explanation on what's happening with the Lourens River and to maybe what's being done to prevent these overflows. And then just back onto the local sewer, I know Simpiwe has showed a couple of streets. I quickly tried to see. He talked about Van der Stel Street, but I didn't see the section between Murray and Joubert Street included in the section of Van der Stel Street to be relined. And on that section between Murray and Joubert, there's a sinkhole that has occurred already 3 times that were filled in with asphalt. And you can see the road is sagging quite badly in the center where the sewer line is running. So I just want to find out if that section is included for rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johan, Anton, and Jamie. Colleagues, let's try and respond to the questions that have been raised. And also I appeal to the people that asked questions that we do not interrupt the responses when they have been provided, as much as maybe we might disagree with them, but let's allow them the same opportunity that you were given as well. So if I can just go to the floor for the colleagues to respond to some of what Jamie said earlier, and I think it also relates to coastal management. I'm not sure, maybe Greg, you're going to start if you're on the call.
Hi, Nelly. Yes, I'm on the call. So the coastal water quality data is available on the website. Jamie can download it there. We don't monitor the stormwater discharges or anything that comes across the shoreline. What we monitor is in the actual water itself, the coastal water. And those results are there. We're not seeing any concern in the water quality through summer in Strand. We've indicated before, I think the data is quite clear that Strand is highly impacted by rainfall. The data, which is still daily data in front of the Lifesaving Club and in the surfing area, which is a higher frequency of water quality sampling than you'll find anywhere else, shows this pattern very clearly. I'm not aware of what the flush hour is, but I would point out that my understanding of wastewater, and my colleagues from wastewater could confirm this, is that there is an increase in volume both in the mornings and in the evenings. So if the problem was occurring in the evenings, we would expect the same problem to be occurring in the mornings, because most people, when they wake up, they go for a shower, the bathrooms are used, they do all sorts of things. So there are 2 peaks in wastewater, morning and evening. And if that problem was occurring, we'd pick it up in the sampling, which is done between 8 and 9 in the morning. So I think that's reasonable evidence that it's not showing up in the water quality, but we obviously can't sample twice a day. We're currently sampling once a day, but if there was a problem like that, we should pick it up in the morning sample, which we're not doing. I would suspect that there's increased odor at the pump station when you have these kind of increased volumes, and that's just a normal part of any pump station. It's an unfortunate part of a pump station, and perhaps others could comment on that. But we haven't had a failed result at the Strand swimming area or surfing area since the 6th of October, which is, I think, now 5 months ago, which aligns clearly with our kind of assessment of Strand, that poor water quality in Strand is primarily driven through rainfall events, and we expect to see a decline in water quality, unfortunately, in the coming winter. But yeah, I hope that answers most of the things, Anele.
Thank you, Greg. We are still responding. Let's go to Director Killick to respond to the Macassar question.
Thanks very much. Yes, in terms of Macassar, I think you're referring to that picture which showed the inlet works flooding. So that event normally occurs in winter, and the primary cause of that, well, there are 2 causes. The one is the connections of stormwater into the sewer system. So in a very big rainfall event, because all the downpipes are connected, or a lot of downpipes are connected into the sewer system during your peak rainfall, you will get excess flow into the wastewater treatment plants. And then we also need to adjust the control systems of the various pump stations so that they ramp up slowly in order to give more of a slow, continuous, incremental increase in discharge to Macassar. And that those changes to the control systems have been made. We also have 4 maturation ponds. We have cleaned 2 of them, and 2 are in the process of being cleaned. So any overflows which we experience would go into the maturation ponds now. So there's a buffer storage before it would be discharged into the river. So I hope that addresses your question. It isn't the intention to discharge raw sewage at all into the river.
Thank you, Director Killick. Colleagues, if we may also respond to some of the questions that were raised, anyone from the officials can feel free to take the mic and respond to some of them.
Good
Niven?
evening, Chair. Pierre Maritz here.
Okay.
Just on the
Yeah.
Lourens River pump station, I think that the issues was correctly addressed about the monitoring, about you've got your morning peak, your afternoon or night peak. To Johan Swart, obviously we've got records of the wet well levels that's going up or down. The peak hour was described perfectly by Greg. The water quality has proven that in the cycles of tide that it's good, and especially the no-fault results, as he said, monitoring the water on the beach from the 6th of October, and I know they've got a rigorous testing regime there. Just the last one, if something goes wrong, and it will, our turnaround time is less than 24 hours to derag, clear the lines, get the pumps going, and if I really need to push, I can push Lourens River pump station way over 1,000 liters a second, but then as Director Killick said, that has got consequences when at the inlet work. So what we try to do is to balance between Lourens River pump station and Helderberg pump station to get that flow through even and nicely to be accepted at the Macassar Wastewater Treatment Works. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Pierre Maritz. Let's move on to Niven. Niven, followed by Gerard.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Johan. I'll answer your question, the first question on the Trappies, on the AC and the HDPE pipe. So the first aim is to open up the AC pipe, investigate that pipe. First prize would be to reinstate that pipe trenchlessly. That is our first aim, and once the contractor is on board, that is his first task that he's going to do. And then just to touch on the HDPE pipe, that we will not decommission that pipe. That pipe will remain underneath the Lourens River and it will remain operational for additional redundancy. And I do note your idea to Orion on the additional maybe a gap or space for future services if required. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niven. Let's move on to Gerard.
Thanks, Anele. Mine is more of a just a question of clarification. Jamie mentioned more samples to be taken, water quality samples to be taken at Wilberforce Street. Jamie, were you referring to the samples taken from the ocean or from the sea or from the stormwater outlet pipe?
Good evening. Thanks for the question. Yeah, so for clarification, it's from the discharge point of the Wilberforce culvert onto the beach, which obviously flushes out into the sea. And I think this is the point of concern, is that we are seeing discharge onto the beach, and obviously, as Greg has pointed out, is that 600 meters down where they're testing for duckies or at pipe, we've seen excellent water quality data, but certainly the immediate area of the discharge around Wilberforce is deeply problematic, and there's no data to qualify that or to dismiss it, etc. And that remains the point of concern.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. I think what we'll do is I'll speak to our scientific services and see whether we can do some ad hoc testing on that outlet at Wilberforce Street. So I've got your contact details. I can come back with a response to that, like ad hoc testing on a temporary basis until the you know the quality gets better. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerard. Jamie, if your contact details have changed, because I also tried to phone you the day before yesterday, please give us your latest contact details so that we can have the latest ones if your cell phone number and contact details have changed. Thank you so much for that. Simpiwe, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and be quick. Just the two items that's specific to me. The sinkhole at the golf course. Preliminary investigations revealed that the sewer line was functioning as it should at the time when we investigated last year. However, I'll just recommission another investigation and ask the colleagues just to look at that again. Secondly, the rehabilitation of the sewers in Marais and Joubert. So that's covered in Works Project 1 and 3. So yeah, I hope I've adequately answered those two items. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Simpiwe. Let's go to Orion, Africa.
Thank you, Anele. Just for Johan Swart's questions. Yes, with regards, number one, I have the Trappies additional sleeve. I've noted that we'll be discussing with Navin because the request was fairly frequent that Johan made. So I should, by the next forum meeting, which is scheduled for in next month, I should be able to give feedback. Similarly, on the pump station failure, on the 9th of February, we have tasked the subcontractor Tricom, who's working under the main contractor, Water and East. They are still conducting the investigation, Johan. And I should also be able, by the next forum meeting in March, to give a more detailed feedback on that issue. As we know that with stormwater pump stations, obviously it's not as with your sewer that runs continuously, so we get an opportunity to see for faults effectively in a storm event.
Right, thank you so much, Orion. I see Johan Swart has got his hand up again. I just want to check before I go to Johan. Is there anyone from the floor that has not gotten an opportunity yet to ask a question before I allow Johan to go for the second round? Any other new hand from the floor? Okay. I think, Johan, you are the only man standing. You can go ahead. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. No, Ryan, sorry, just want to clarify there. I wasn't referring to the stormwater pump station. I was referring to the Lourens River wastewater pump station that had 3 failures in December and then 1 in January. So that wasn't referring to that. And in Simpiwe, the section of road that I was requesting about, it's a section of Van der Stel Street between Marais and Joubert Street. So it's not Marais and Joubert itself, it's that section of Van der Stel that crosses between Marais and Joubert Street.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification, Johan. Let's move on to Jamie, because I don't see another hand. So, Jamie, you can have the floor.
Thank you. So, yeah, if I could just maybe wrap up those other questions, which I didn't get to, but I appreciate the other answers. Thank you. I think the other area of deep concern that we have is to Paarderblaai water quality and the data which we are seeing emanate from the Paarderblaai channel that's been extensively reported through the many Lourens River catchment management forum meetings. Unfortunately, we're not seeing the same reporting at the EMC meetings, but nevertheless, I think our concern is that there's significant overflows in that section of Paarderblaai, and it doesn't seem to be getting the attention, and I'm not sure how we're going to resolve that, but there certainly seems to be an ongoing discharge and contamination coming from that channel, and obviously that discharge point is below the testing point on the bridge, and I'm not sure if there is any testing below the pump station for the Lourens River itself. So that's just an area of concern. I'd just like to add some comments that I'm very pleased to see that Gill Sloot and Helderberg are going to be seeing some sewage upgrades or sewer network upgrades. I think that's long overdue and is going to be greatly appreciated by the community. And I think just regarding to Macassar, I think that the presenter had said that the design capacity for Macassar was 36,000, 36 million liters per day. In fact, I think the operational capacity is 24 million and peaks at 60 million with water ingress. So I'm not sure if he wants to check his notes on that. But yeah, and I think in overview of the flood alleviation projects for Lowry Pass and Lourens River, it's very encouraging to see this investment. I think the concerns that we have around litter traps and litter inceptors still remain an issue that needs to be, or a project that needs to be facilitated for going forward. So I think that summarizes all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I see, Newton, you've got your hand up. Maybe you can help us respond to some of the questions that Jamie raised. Jamie, just don't forget to lower your hand so that we can be able to keep track in terms of who's wanting to ask a question. Newton and then Marcel. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think it's best if I answer the last question before I forget. So yes, thanks, Jamie, for the sort of the confirmation of what you've seen on site. Yes, we did discuss in terms of the litter management issue. Just to confirm, we are in the process of commissioning a citywide litter, or best described, not just litter, waste interceptor assessment around feasibility of these structures, as we discussed on site, specifically on Lowry Pass. You've seen the extent of the works, so it would be quite difficult. So we would ideally shift our focus more towards the upstream side and then look around the feasibility, but that is still some time away. But we do take cognizance of your concern, and then once we've got a clearer picture of the fit for purpose type of structures to manage the type of waste that we anticipate per catchment, we will then come and present, but that is still quite far off. But there'll obviously be different opportunities, and as you know, we generally make use of our opportunities at the various forums, which the team will present. So just to confirm to you that it is not something that we let slip on our side. We do take your concern quite serious, and we are now in the process of getting our consultants to actually come up with feasible solutions for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Newton. Thank you so much for that response. Let's go to Marcel. Marcel, are you still there, or have you been covered?
Sorry. Didn't unmute my mic. I apologize. Hi, Jamie. In terms of the plant's capacity, yes, the plant's capacity and design capacity in terms of its civil structures is 36 megaliters per day, or 34 megaliters per day. However, due to aging infrastructure, that being the mechanical equipment, the plant will have a degraded capacity, and that capacity is 21.5 megaliters. So over time, as your equipment deteriorates, you will lose capacity because the mechanical equipment basically cannot handle the flows that are entering the plant. Now, in terms of diversion, as I understand it, the Black Mac sewer is currently feeding into Zandvliet, which is alleviating most of the flow that's meant to go to Macassar. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Marcel, for that. Colleagues and members of the public, we are now 3 minutes past 8 o'clock. The meeting was meant to end at 8 o'clock, but we do understand that some of the presentations that we had shared had run over time. That said, please, if you have any additional future questions, do feel free to email us on the email address that I've provided in the comment section. I've posted it and I will read it out loud. It is communications.waterandSanitation@capetown.gov.za. If you happen to forget the email address, you can reach out to your local ward councillor to get in contact with us so that we can be able to answer and respond to any of the comments that maybe you might think of tonight, or any questions that might arise when you get home tonight. With that said, I would like to check from the floor, from the officials, is there anyone else, officials, that would like to amplify or mention anything before we wrap up the meeting tonight? Perfect. It seems as if we are covered. That said, let me take this opportunity and thank all the councillors, all the officials, all the residents, all the members of the public, and all the stakeholders for participating in this public information sharing meeting, and also mention that we will share the presentations that were shared here today with you via the email address that we have been provided. With that said, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Good night.
Thank you. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.